Welcome to my channel Heavenly Life. God is the God who exalts and humbles people. God is the God who appoints and also removes people. And God is also the God who rewards, who gives the reward to the right timing, to his perfect timing. And you will know what I mean with this when you hear what I have to say about the story of Esther. It is really one of my favorite stories out of the Bible. It is really an exciting story. When I read it, I feel like I'm seeing a movie. Well, it's only in my head, but nevertheless, it's really, really good. And maybe you have not read it yet. So maybe now is the time for you to read the whole story for you, because I will not speak about every part of the story here. I just want to make some points clear that I believe God wants me to talk about. But let's begin how it really began. Esther was chosen because the old queen from the king Xerxes I didn't follow his command. So she was no longer queen after that, and Esther was chosen as the new queen. And the officials of the king Xerxes I planned to assassinate him. They wanted to kill him. And there was this cousin of Esther named Mordecai, and he heard about the plans to assassinate the king. And the king was informed over the plans that the officials had. He was informed because Esther heard it from Mordecai, and she told the king about it. And the officials had to die, of course, because it was the king. You shouldn't play with fire, because you could burn. And the officials died. And then the king promoted Haman to a higher position. He was higher than all the other officials under the king. He had power. And the king made a new law that everyone should bow down before Haman. And I believe this is really something that Haman wanted to see. He wanted to see himself being honored by the people, honored by everyone. I really believe that he was an attention seeker, a seeker of honor, a seeker of applause from the people. And he didn't like that Mordecai refused to bow down before him. And when Mordecai was asked why he refuses to bow down, he only said because he is a Jew. And this idea came to my mind. Maybe he said that he refused because he was a Jew, because of the history of the Amalekites. And a lot of people say and believe that the origin of Haman was the nation of the Amalekites. And for those of you who don't know what they did to the Jews, when Israel came out of Egypt and they crossed over when God parted the sea, there were some folks, some people of the Israelites who kind of got lost on the way into the promised land because they were too weak. They were not strong enough to keep up with all the soldiers and all the strong people. So they kind of got left behind. And these were the people who got killed by the Amalekites. Maybe this was the reason why Mordecai was not ready to bow down. This is maybe the cause why he refused, but maybe also because he was convicted by God, maybe, that he shouldn't do this. You know, we Christians also have this thing sometimes, and you can also read about it in the Bible, for example, about the meat, that some of us have a conviction about something that we shouldn't do, and others have peace, they have the faith for it, and they are free to go, but we are not, because we have the conviction of God that it's wrong for us to do it. And maybe this was the case with Mordecai. He just knew that it was wrong before God. So he refused. But like I said, Haman didn't like it. He hated Mordecai for that. He was full of rage because of this. And Haman had plans now to kill Mordecai. But not only him, he had also plans to kill all the Jews in this kingdom. So so Haman came home and told his whole family and their friends about his new position, about his promotion. He is now the most powerful man after the king. He has all the power. And I really believe he enjoyed maybe this applause. He enjoyed the honor that he got from his family and friends. Sometimes people only want this. It's not even about the money, it's just about having money to have power. Having money to be applauded by people, to get honored. This is all what they want. They want the people to clap for them. And I believe this is all Haman wanted. But he also wanted the revenge. He wanted to kill Mordecai and all the Jews. But did he succeed? So Haman had his plans and he thought, it's done. It's done. He was on the way to the king, and he even told the king before that Jews are bad people and they should die because they are not following the laws of the king. That was even in the past the case. And the king was like, yeah, okay, do that. Here you have my ring. And as we know, the ring was something really important for every law that was passed. So Haman planned for one day to kill every Jew. And the king accepted this. He didn't even wanted the money that Haman offered him for killing all the Jews. But Haman, no, before I say that, let's continue, because I don't want to spoiler for those who don't know the story. So Haman, like I said, was on the way to the king. And he was, I believe, so happy about telling the king that he should kill Mordecai because he also was a Jew. And of course, he was so like secure in knowing that Mordecai will die. He was so sure of this. I mean, because the king already accepted that all Jews should die, so of course he will accept the death of Mordecai. But the night before, and this is of course not a coincidence, this is how God works when he comes at his right moment. Oh my gosh, thank you, Lord. In the night. God reveals things in the night time. In the night. Wow, that's so good, Lord. Because in the night, the king couldn't sleep. And he told his servant to get the book of history about his kingdom, where everything is written down that is important that happens. So he was reading about the story of Mordecai, how Mordecai helped the king, how Mordecai informed about the plot, about the assassination, about the attempt to kill the king. And the king was like, oh, really? And how got Mordecai rewarded for this? And the servant said, nothing. I can find nothing here in this book, you know. And the king was like, okay. Then Haman arrived. And the king was like, Haman, when the king wants to honor somebody, tell me how he should honor him. And of course, Haman is the car. No, I speak about Haman. He was so sure about his plan. So he thought, of course, the king speaks about me. So he spoke about the best things that he would do and he would want for himself. This is what happens to people who are full of themselves. When their life is just all about themselves, then they get trapped in their own traps, in their own thinking, I mean. So he said something about give him the best clothes, you know. Give him a horse and let somebody scream out loud. This is the man that gets honored by the king. This is how it looks like when a man gets honored by the king. And the king was like, okay, you know what? This is something that you do now with Mordecai. And I believe Haman was not only surprised, he was feeling so bad. I really believe he felt bad for himself at this moment. He felt humbled. Like I said in the beginning of this video, humbled. God humbles the proud. Full. God humbles the people that are full of pride. They need to be humbled. But did this stop Haman of his evil plans? Let's continue. So Haman was going around with Mordecai on the horse. Mordecai had the best clothes. I believe maybe even that the king himself had, or similar stuff. And Haman was saying, this is the man, you know, this is the man that the king honors. It is him. And I believe it was such a pain for him. Every time he had to say this, he knew it's not me. It's not me. This is, You know, think about this. This is all the time what he was hearing. Man, it's not about me. The king is not honoring me. The king is not honoring me. He isn't. He isn't. And then when Haman came home after this, the friends and family said, "Oh, oh, oh, oh! You have begun to fall before Mordecai. This will not end well for you." And they were right. But at that time, the officials already knocked on the door of Haman's house. And what I didn't said, what I forgot, what I didn't say, I mean, is that Mordecai made a wood pole near his own house so Mordecai could die there. Of course, he wanted to humble Mordecai and maybe even all the other Jews because it was really high. I looked it up, it was like over 20 meters of height, imagine. And I believe he did it because he wanted everybody to see what happens with somebody who refuses to honor him. Crazy, crazy. This man was crazy. So how does this end? Esther hears from Mordecai that all Jews should die. This is what they knew now. This was the plan, and they heard about the documents that were signed, the laws. They knew. And Esther was shocked. And Mordecai told her, Esther, now it's your turn. You have to visit the king, and she has not visited the king for a long time. And you have to tell him about this whole plan. And she was like, yeah, but I can't do it because it could be the case that I would die because the king had, I don't know how you say it in English, but he had something. And when you enter the place of the king and he would not show this thing, he would not show it, then you would have to die. And this was counting for everybody that entered the place of the king. And the queen knew it. She knew she could die. But then she fasted. She was fasting, and also all the other Jews, she said that they should fast, and Mordecai also. And they fasted, I don't know. But they humbled themselves before God. And Esther invited the king and Haman to a feast. And she said she would prepare a big meal for them. It will be a big feast, and they should come to this feast. This is what she wanted, and the king asked her all the time, like, what do you want from me? I want to fulfill your every wish, even if it's the half of my whole kingdom. So her wish was this feast. And like I said before, this is what I forgot. When the officials knocked on the door of Haman, this is where they brought him directly to this feast of Esther. And there was the king and Esther sitting. And I believe it says after they had a good time, they ate and they drank. They were maybe drunk, I don't know. But then Esther was asked by the king, like, again, what is your wish? I want to fulfill your every wish, even if you're wishing to have the half of my kingdom. And she said, my wish is that you would help me, because there is a man, there is somebody who wants to kill me and who wants to kill my nation, my people. And he is like, I believe he was full of rage already. Like, who is this guy? I will just let him be killed directly. I don't care. Who is this guy? Tell me. And I believe Haman was like, oh my gosh, what's she talking about? Like, But I didn't think that he was thinking about himself. Because you can read when she said it's Haman that wants to kill me and my people. I'm Jewish and he wants to kill every Jew. The king was so full of rage that he left the room. He left the house and he went to his place. He went to the palace. And then he came back and Haman was pleading for his life. He was asking Esther, please, please don't let me die, because he knew he will die. And the king was back and the king saw that he was in a kind of weird position. And he was looking at him like, I'm looking, I believe this. What is this guy doing there? And he said something like, does he want to put his hands now on the queen? Is he crazy or something? And when he just spoke these words, out loud, they already directly let this guy vanish. And there was an official that now told the king, there is a wood pole near the house of Haman. And this wood pole was built for Mordecai. And the king said, oh, then let Haman be killed at this wood pole. And Haman died there. So now when I spoke about the right timing and the reward, when the reward for Mordecai came directly, maybe Mordecai would be dead. Because this is what God used to protect Mordecai from death, to protect Mordecai from the evil plans from Haman. He used a reward. So maybe you are waiting today for a reward from God. God has this perfect timing. He uses everything to our good. Maybe Mordecai thought for himself, like, why did the king not give me anything at all? I mean, I did something good for him. He's alive because I informed Esther about the assassination attempt that they planned against him. Maybe he thought this, but he didn't knew that God allowed this to happen so he can still be alive. And not only that, he was alive later when Haman died, but because Haman died, he got now into a higher position. Now Mordecai was promoted and was the highest. Now Mordecai, because of his connections to Esther, got promoted. And he got now a ring. And we know a ring is a symbol, a picture for authority. So God has his perfect timing, also for promotion and elevation. And you know, this was a really dark time. This, you could say, was one of the darkest times. And the Jews didn't die in the way that Haman planned it, because now Mordecai and Esther had more power and they asked the king what they could do about it. And they used the ring of the king, nice, to make new laws, to put out new laws that would make the Jews being able to defend themselves. And this is what they did. And this is how they were able to survive. So God's plans are always good. God is always good. Yes, it can be dark. Like it was dark for Esther, it was dark for the Jews. It was a dark place in that time for Mordecai to be in. But it was not dark forever, you know. And in this world, it really gets dark, but it will not be dark forever. And we also know that we are the light, and that in us lives the light, and that we are the light in this dark world for the people to see that there is still a God who cares. Because you know, when God wouldn't have done something about the plans of Haman, I mean, there was nobody. There was nobody. When Mordecai maybe didn't refuse to bow down before Haman, maybe, we don't know, but maybe Haman would have done other things even worse than what he planned against the Jews. So God knows everything, he sees everything, and that's why he humbles, like he humbled Haman, but he also removes, how he removed Haman, because he was not faithful with his position. He was not faithful in what he had, with which he had. But we want to be faithful with what we have, with what God gave in our hands. So trust in God, trust in his timing, because he will come through at his perfect timing, like he came through for the Jews, for Esther, for Mordecai, in his timing. God is faithful. God bless you.